All right, quiet in the studio. No more coughing, no more jokes. When I say fire in the hole, don't talk about last night's curry. Okay? That's it. All right. All right, quiet. So unprofessional. Well, hello there. This is Jonathan Starkey, a.k.a. Ab Fab, your delightful, delicious, delovely digital pub landlord of that wonderful digital pub called Cheshire Matters. Right, that's it. He's muted. Okay, he's out. Okay. Bournemouth is just out of the Premier League. There you go. All right, and we have a full house tonight. We have the Cutter in the house. Say hello, Graham Cuttle.
Good afternoon or good evening or whatever it may be down in Cheshire. It's Graham Cuttle back for to speak my truth.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, and that man, the nimble, the man who can actually get from one side of the couch to the other so quickly to get his pint, we have the Gazelle. Say hello, Trevor Nicholls.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the Raven.
Yeah, well, he's presently muted. He's not coming in yet until he actually gets some manners about him. Okay, and that man, Stats Man, who knows anything about everything, we think. Go ahead, Stats, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. Oh, can't forget our lovely listeners.
Indeed.
Big shout out to them too.
Indeed. Okay, and we're going to give Steve the dregs of the music. Okay, are you there, Raven?
Welcome the ambulanza.
Okay, God, we hate him. We hate him. All right, that's it. Okay. Well,
he's speaking Norse again, is he?
I don't know. He's speaking Welsh. That's what he's trying to say. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. No. So there we go. All right, okay, that's the intros over and done with. And Graham, okay, been a while since we had you back on. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Jonathan. How are you guys doing down there? All right, I hope.
Well, yeah. No, not really. With everything that's going on in the country, we're not happy bunnies. We really aren't.
It's really a bit of a disaster all over the place, Jonathan, isn't it? As Trevor says, this country is absolutely on its knees. We're done. We're really done.
We are done. But we've got to do something about it. We've got to make use of that union, that great union. I know Mark's going to turn around and say England, but I'm going to say the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
I'm just going to jump in there, Jonathan, say don't mention bunnies because Steve's out in the woods for a poo.
I know. Where are you this week, Steve? Are you in Bournemouth? Is that where you're at?
Well, last week, a long story, but last week we were up near Hartley, just a couple of miles south of Hartley. And this week we've emigrated a few miles down south, nearer to Bournemouth. So we're now camping at a site called Pens and Minack.
All right.
And, just near Bournemouth. It's very nice. The only thing I'm not happy about is being attacked by a rather violent seagull yesterday, who stole my pasty and surrounded me with his mates. It was a terrifying experience. It was like a scene from the film The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock. Very terrifying experience.
Do you know what, Mark? I have to tell you, that digital currency with seagulls worked.
It didn't it?
And if you see any of those seagulls walking into a chip shop,
don't do anything for a bag of chips.
We sent them to go and get you, Steve. We sent them. All right, okay. And Trevor, everything okay, kiddo?
Mm.
Is that it? Oh, that's it. Get the coughing off.
I took a mouthful of beer there, Mr. Landlord. That was very unprofessional of you.
Yeah, of me. Allowing you to take that day. Right, okay. All right, we're going to go straight on to the roundup, and we're going to start talking about, we're going to mention this, but we're actually going to do a little bit more. The roundup's going to be extended, okay? So, Ministers weigh contingency plan for collapse of Thames water. Now, just quick comments about this because we're going to discuss it in more details. Stats?
Go on, someone else can have a go.
He's so disgusted about it. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, there you go. All right, Graham.
Well, I've got plenty to say, but I'll save it for a bit shortly.
What do you think about Thames water going under?
I would like to know how much the fat cats walked away with, Jonathan.
14 billion.
14 billion. How did they divvy up between themselves?
They've been privatizing the profits and socializing the debts as usual. Okay, we're going to move on, knowing that water bills are going to rise. Okay.
Just one second.
Yep.
I just want to say, this is a clear case example for nationalising the water.
Well,
right?
You're at one there with a lot of people. Go ahead.
These people who have profiteered from all of this, running up this debt, should be held responsible, and they should be footing the bill of this debt, not the taxpayer. And this is now an example, perfect example, of why water should come back into government control and people have lower bills instead of funding this kind of absolute, pure, unadulterated, vile greed.
Okay, well, we're going to open that up a little bit later. Right, okay, what about France? What does everybody think about what's going on in France at the moment?
Well, it's clearly losing control.
Listen, Raven, you've had your mouth open for the last 5 minutes. That's it. Okay.
In other words, shut your beak.
Yeah, shut your beak.
It's not very nice. People of Wales are very welcoming down here.
Yeah, we know you've got a fan club called Justice for the Raven, but not here. Go ahead, Stats.
Well, if we need any more proof multiculturalism failed, then there it is, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the thing is, they're calling them riots, but according to a police officer, they're calling it a war. Correct. People are actually being targeted in people's homes, but I know it's calming down a bit, but you can still see there's running battles on the streets now with people who are trying to protect their areas from being looted, etc. I'm just thinking, what does looting the Nike store, the Apple store, burning libraries, schools, killing firemen, robbing and beating people in the street, stealing cars and breaking into the zoo got to do with police brutality?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And did you know that the police officer who was at the center of all of this, he had an unfortunate run-in and a kid was killed. But the kid's parents have got a GoFundMe for some legal bills of something like about 200,000 euros, and the police officer has already got nearly €1 million in his GoFundMe. So they're not having it in France. They've had enough.
This is the result, John, isn't it, of uncontrolled immigration?
Indeed.
The root cause of all these things, whether they're in America, France, anywhere over the world, always seems to be that people don't comply with what a policeman's telling them to do.
Yeah.
They can say what they want, they've got mental health issues, they didn't realise what was happening and all the rest of it, but when a policeman's telling you to stop and is arresting you, you go with it, you know what I mean? You don't sort of fight back, because it's just a red rag to them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. What about Channel 4 axing Andrew Neil's show because it cannot afford to make it? How about that? And so
you don't axe themselves, just be done with it.
You don't like Andrew Neil, or you don't like Channel 4?
Neither of them.
That is just...
Tell me one good thing they've given to society.
Well, Andrew Neil is quite astute in his observations. The things that he makes.
What's that done to save us? Get us out of this mess.
No. The observations are good. Some are quite astute, as I've said before. And I think that, quite simply, you won't see the last of him. Not at all.
Shame.
Harsh.
I'm not being funny, John. He went to GB News for this new start with a proper news channel that isn't like the rest of them, and then he literally totally flipped. So the lefty inside of him just can't go away, can it?
All right. What about Dan Wootton? And he's accusing all these solicitors of always going to make it difficult to stopping the boats.
Well, this is the case. I mean, our system is riddled with left-wing ideology, right? So we've covered this. This is where it stems from. Doesn't matter what the government says, unless the civil service is brought in line with government policy, nothing will change.
Well, we think that the lefties, we're going to refer to them as nutters. And, in every program, we're going to refer to them as left-wing nutters. All these people that believe multiculturalism is going to work, pluralism is going to work, left-wing nutters. And if anybody doesn't like that, it's tough. Go ahead, Mark.
Do you know what? They're not all nutters. Some of them have actually talked some sense. George Galloway's not too bad, on some of the stuff he talks about.
a true lefty, is he?
Well, he calls himself a socialist, but I mean, doesn't a lot of people? They don't even know what it means. So.
Well, I was accused of being a socialist. Saying, you know,
I can see that,
I'm a closet socialist.
Well, you closet something, but I don't know whether it's socialist.
Yeah, you're muted, Steve. You're muted. It's not going to be recorded. I mean, you're on a separate track, and I'm just going to go snip, okay, and blat you out.
George Galloway, hey, another millionaire socialist.
Yes, champagne socialist. Yes,
bring him on.
Indeed.
Was he not the one that kidded on he was a cat on some Channel 4 show before all
That's
this?
right. Meow, baby.
Meow. That nonsense came out, meow. So he was the original.
He was the one that was identifying as a pussycat. Yeah.
He started all this mess.
Right.
Yeah, indeed. Right, okay. What about the police at Pride told they can't wear the thin blue line emblem?
Maybe they should be told they shouldn't be at Pride. Well, just patrol, stand at the edge, do your job. And that's it.
Why do they feel they have to wear anything? They're policemen, they've got a uniform. That's enough.
That's it. Well, let me just give you a hint about what the Met Police dress code is. They actually say that the Met dress code urges officers not to wear badges advertising causes, beliefs, or charities. They distract from their corporate identity and compromise the impartiality of the Met. So why are they all wearing these LGBTQ alphabet mafia stuff?
I didn't realise the police had a corporate identity. Corporate identity is for companies. The police aren't a company.
I was just going to say the same.
Well, they deal with policy these days, don't they? What I was going to say is, if the police were at a football match, say Millwall West Ham, would they be in the Millwall end with the Millwall scarves? Well, they wouldn't, would they? Because it'd cause trouble. Same difference to me. Stand at the edge.
That's because Millwall aren't Liverpool. All right.
You know what I mean?
While we're on, can I ask a question about this alphabet flag? Now, there's a new one I've seen where it's not only got coloured lines going across, it's got diagonal lines in the shape of an arrow coming from the left-hand side, I think it is, with all other colours attached to it. Does anybody know what this means? Is it something new attached to this flag? What's that about?
It can be
anything. There was an article in the Mail last week and it explained exactly what this flag means now. And the original person that designed it is going off his head because it's so corrupted now, it's unbelievable. So, it means everything, Steve. Basically, what you can think of that flag represents.
Apart from straight white men.
Yes.
That's it, Mark. Apart from straight white men.
You see, when you put four of them together on different angles, has anyone seen that?
It looks like a Nazi flag, doesn't it? Lawrence Fox put something up, I believe.
He did. Mm.
Anyway, so that is it for the roundup. But I want to pick out a couple of things. But first, we're going to go to that wonderful man, our correspondent in Scotland, the man that is the Cutter. Go ahead. Tell us what's happening in Scotland, Cut.
Well, Jonathan, it's the latest Scottish Government shambles that I'm going to talk about today, and that is the deposit return scheme. Now, the Scottish Government, as per usual, try to forge ahead with us.
Sorry, is that the deposit on the syringes?
It could well be, mate, aye. Single-use syringes. You know what I mean? It's a single use.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Right, so anyway, I mean, it's the Scottish Government once again forging ahead with something without consulting the rest of the UK. Money-wise, I've learned to talk about money on this podcast because of stats. Money-wise, a waste management company invested 65 million in it.
Oh, Jesus.
And unbelievable. The Scottish Government, through the Scottish National Bank, which is the taxpayers, invested 9 million in it. Circulatory Scotland, who were the sort of right below the Scottish Government and were running the scheme, and administration lost 60 jobs. And all Lorna Slater, the person that was in charge of it, that's the Green Woman,
can say she is weird.
It was the fault of Westminster, as usual, the fault of Westminster. So again, it's Scotland absolutely hemorrhaging money on schemes that they don't think about. The ferries, Ab Fab with the windmills.
Have they renewed the ferries yet?
No, they're still sitting. One's still sitting as a shell, as a hull. It's not even got a name. It's called a number. And the other one called Glen Sannox is still sitting in dry dock.
Oh my!
Fill it with migrants. That's what I say.
Go out and send them back to France.
That's what you call one hell of a dinghy.
The migrants are still in the luxury cruise ship, I'm afraid.
Oof.
I heard Scotland only take about 4% of them anyway. I think we need to up that.
So, it's just another debacle. An absolute another debacle.
You are going to fall out with the cutter saying things like that.
I didn't hear him. He
said you only take 4% of the migrants, and he's thinking he's going to try and get that figure up.
We need that boat.
Mark, see the next time you're up in East Kilbride, I'll take you to a couple of hotels and you'll see where the 4% are.
Yeah, you'll be getting them all soon.
Okay, so and what is the general feel about Humza and his government? I mean, this guy is actually really, really trying his best to make like everything is okay and rosy in the garden.
I think that's his plan, Jonathan. I think he's just basically sort of he's strolling along and trying not to make too many waves, and under the current he's not sort of talking about independence and ramming it down our throats and all the rest of it, because he knows the country's in an absolute uproar.
Yeah.
Local elections are coming up and so forth, and it's just treading water, Jonathan, nice and easy treading water, going about smiling and all the rest of it. And
do you think he's going to get hammered?
He's a nothing, basically, do you know what I mean?
Do you think he's going to get hammered?
I absolutely hope he gets hammered, Jonathan. I think I heard Steve on last week's podcast saying that a vote for Labour is a vote for basically ending the country and so forth, and I totally agree with him. Trevor says that we need to lose this two-party system in the country. Unfortunately, in Scotland, we've got a three-party system, and honestly,
is that
just
SNP, and SNP,
Labour and the Conservatives.
Well, yeah, so, SNP. I was being
SNP,
joking.
Labour and the Conservatives, Jonathan. You've got the Liberal Democrats and the Greens in there as well, but they're neither here nor there. But we need to get the SNP out of power by hook or by crook. And I'm afraid, a lot of my friends who are die-hard Conservatives always voted Tory and all the rest of it are all going to vote Labour this time just to get the SNP ousted once and for all.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
What we need is a new party in Wales, in Scotland, in England, everywhere, to shore up the union and protect everything that we are across this union as a united kingdom.
Yes.
100% agree with you, Steve.
No.
Totally agree there, Steve. We've got one. Reform UK. Vote for it.
So, I suppose they're the only one who's allowed to have a bank account. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say, what do you think of that debacle about Farage and the bank account? It's opened up a hornet's nest, hasn't it?
Well, he wasn't exactly quick with criticism when it happened to other people.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first point. But very serious issue relating to anybody that the government or the institutions could seemingly want to cancel. Very dangerous area we are entering.
Yep, indeed.
Fascism in this country, because that's what it is.
Please yield to the Statsman. Go ahead. I love those congressional hearings. Okay, gentleman.
Thank you, general person. And do you know what? He sent
me a text message saying, when I was informing everybody that the programs were uploaded, he sent me a text message that actually said, "You the cis man."
Nah, you the non-binary.
You the non-binary.
You the non-binary, bro.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I have to intervene here. I'm going to have to call back in a few minutes.
No, we're not going to let you back on. Once you go, you're out.
Oh, well, I need the gentleman's room, which is about 200 yards down the hill on the campsite. I'll be back shortly.
Okay.
You're in a field, mate.
Yeah.
Bye.
He's off to milk the cow.
He's got siphon the python. or the tiddler. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, if people would have spoken out when this first started happening to people, regardless who they were, we might be able to put a stop to it. But once they realise they could get away with it, it's not going to end. Yeah. So the government better move quick on this, because if they slip from power and Labour are in, they'll be next,
Yeah.
Because the left will call everybody fascists and racists or whatever, and it'll start happening. Yeah, watch.
Okay. Well, seems as though the Raven is gone, we can actually start talking about some serious subjects and get on with some grown-up conversation. Yay! Right, okay. So let's go on to Thames Water, which was one of the stories that we picked up from the roundup. And ministers are weighing contingency plans for the collapse of Thames Water. So they're actually getting ready for it. Whitehall officials in Ofwat, the water regulator, have begun assessing the scope for a special administration of the UK's biggest water company. I can admit that. The government has begun drawing up contingency plans for the collapse of Thames Water amid growing doubts in Whitehall about the ability of Britain's biggest water company to service its 14 billion debt pile. 14 billion. Now, remember now, that company was handed over to those people completely without debt. They haven't invested in its infrastructure. They've carried on paying out to its shareholders, and taking massive wages for its executive. And now it's got a £14 billion debt pile, and it's actually gone out asking its shareholders for $1 billion, I believe. I think that was his first thing. Okay, go ahead. Comments opened up. Go ahead. Anybody?
I'll go here. Here we go again. A lot of Conservative millionaires made millions more at the taxpayers' cost. As always, I'm afraid that I've come to the conclusion, I never thought I'd say this, but I've come to the conclusion that we really do need to go back to nationalising all major utilities. Like Steve said earlier on, nationalise water. We've got to nationalise a lot, I'm afraid. Water, power, rail. The capitalist model has failed.
Yes, especially where utilities are concerned.
It's failed.
It's failed.
We've got... Yeah, I'm only on about utilities. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go back to nationalisation. We've got to do.
Well, somebody's going to be looking for a big payoff. Stats, go ahead.
I'm afraid I have to totally disagree on nationalisation, I'm afraid.
What about that, Gazelle?
Car park now.
Well, I'm going to have to, because we're all looking at how it is now, but you want to look at what it used to be like. So before the privatisation, there was decades of underinvestment, which is one of the problems we'll come to in a minute, by successive governments. The water quality was poor. The rivers were all polluted. The beaches were badly affected by sewage. And this is because a lot of the money went to schools, hospitals and police.
Yeah, well, what's happening now, though?
Hang on.
Let me
finish. Yield.
So in 30 years, we've got clean drinking water. Leakage is down by a third since the mid-90s. 2/3 of the beaches are now classed as excellent compared with less than a third 25 years ago. And wildlife has returned to rivers that have been biologically dead since the Industrial Revolution. Bills are actually almost the same as they were if you take off inflation. And then the problem we're going to have... Yeah? The problem we're going to have, though...
Take off inflation.
Yeah, and who caused that? It wasn't them, was it? So,
oh, come on.
Listen,
but when they add to it...
Well, I've been looking into all this. This company failed because of bad management. What they've done, and all the water companies are doing it, is they've racked up massive debt. Now, all this debt hasn't been used for investment. It's been used for the shareholders. Now, do we know who owns this company? Mostly foreigners. Big investment companies. Yep. China,
UAE, I think it is.
Abu Dhabi in the UAE. You've got Canadian firms as well.
Abu Dhabi really do?
Yeah. So they're not going to invest in water, but they'll invest in football clubs. So I think something's big is going on here, and they're destroying our infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think the problem if we nationalise everything is we're going to then increase government debt. So you can, we might not take the 14 on. That'll be to the shareholders. But they're going to, I think the government is saying something like 50 billion to improve all this. So the problem with nationalisation is productivity falls, as does effectiveness, innovation, investment. For instance, imagine if we nationalised transport. Well, I could see what's going to happen already. They're going to lower the costs, aren't they, for pollution and get everyone on the public transport. And it's just going to be a disaster again. Maybe we should heavily regulate them even more.
I don't particularly buy into that now. Maybe 30 years ago I would have done that. But to be quite honest with you, I think privatisation has got certain benefits as nationalisation. But to me, the very idea that people in a modern society pay a bill for a profiteering organisation to supply
for a fundamental requirement.
It's the very essence of life, Jonathan, because clean, safe water is something that every human being needs. And I find that to be, if that's the subject of profiteering, we are in question as a society for the poor and needy who can't afford to live. That should be a fundamental source of health and living for everybody.
Stats is going to respond to that. Go ahead, Stats.
Yeah. Since 1989, this was regulated by someone you mentioned before, Ofwat.
Ofwat.
They need to be held accountable for this too, because they've put the framework in place to ensure consumers receive high standards of service at a fair price. Well, they failed to do that, I'm afraid. And now, as I just said, what kind of investors don't invest in a company?
That's the other thing.
Exactly.
They've been taking money out.
But they've been borrowing to do that, and that's why they're all in debt now, you see.
Well,
so the people who are running the company have badly failed here, where others haven't.
Well, I'm still just going to add a comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
It's failed.
It's failed, yeah.
It's failed, yeah.
And also, it's been pumping effluent into it, and it's wrong.
It has, but the situation we're in now is far, far better than what it was. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go back to that. And it's just took us 30 years to make those improvements.
Well, no, the government, I mean, when was the last insolvency? The last insolvency was...
I can't see an improvement.
Just 1 second,
it's 14 billion debt. I can't see that as an improvement.
I've just read out all the improvements. We've got clean drinking water, which we didn't really have. The leakage is down.
I don't drink the water.
The beaches are now classed as excellent, 2/3 of them, where it was only 1/3.
And that is current
Wildlife's
information.
Returned to rivers. So I don't. One of my problems is we discuss state control, don't we, a lot? And I just think handing over our most important assets to the people who are just the most diabolical at running them is just suicide.
Well, it is indeed. But I'm not talking about the government. The last insolvency was Bulb, okay? And they collapsed in 2021, sparking concerns that this could cost the taxpayer billions, which is also going to add to inflation. There's no doubt about it. As far as I can see, the talks that are going on with Whitehall and Ofwat and all the rest of them getting together, and I will yield to the Gazelle momentarily, everything that's going on is not actually answering the problem. Thames Water have got 15 million customers. If I was those 15 million customers now, I would stop paying any of my bills and bring those people right on their knees straight away, because they're the ones who are going to be paying for it anyway. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be paying through their taxes. They're going to be hit with it. And I would stop paying your bills anyway and just keep on taking the water. Go ahead, Trevor.
Important thing that Stats said earlier on, that all these are basically foreign owned.
Correct.
Right? Stop it. Get it all back to British owned. If you've got to nationalise it to do that, then do that. Get it back to British owned. Get rid of all your French. They own virtually all the electricity. I can't remember what it is, but it's something like 94% of our utilities are foreign owned. Stop it. Sell it all off. Bring it all back. Okay. And that's either nationalising it or corporate investment in this country.
Ownership.
Can I just come in on this?
No, you can't. No, you can't. Cutter is going to come in. He hasn't had a chance to speak yet because everybody was talking away, and you're trying to take his time. Yield to the Cutter. Go ahead, Cutter.
It's just like years ago, Britain used to build its own nuclear power stations. Now, nuclear power, in my opinion, is the way forward with power.
Yes.
There's no other option. Nuclear power is the cleanest, the best, the most efficient source of power. Right, wind's great and all the rest of it, but it doesn't match nuclear power. Now, Britain used to build its own nuclear power stations. We now rely on foreigners, i.e. the Chinese, to build our nuclear power stations, which in my opinion is absolute suicide, because I do not trust the Chinese government in the slightest with anything.
Yep,
agree.
All the official buildings, the police stations and all the rest of it, they're stripping out their CCTV systems, which are run by a company called Hikvision, which is Chinese government run, and it's spying on everybody.
Okay, well, let's bring in the Raven, because he wanted to say something there. Go on, Rave.
We need to remember the conversation that we had on this programme, I'm taking a guess, around about 12 months ago. We were talking about the very fundamental essence of what this country is and what a country needs. And in effect, there is no plan for this country at all in any area of life.
It's all reactive. It's all reactive.
It's also
not proactive, it's reactive.
It's also very much opportunistic to plunder the public purse at every opportunity. But also, what we need to remember is the country, the government of the day, whoever it is, needs to have some fundamental responsibilities which are no longer operating whoever's in power anymore. And the fact of the matter is, we need food security, we need energy and water security, we need utilities security across the board. All of these services, these key fundamental services on how a country operates and provides its essential needs for its citizens, needs to be done through nationalised services. And then we have a free market to provide all sorts of other services. We need to get back to some fundamentals and basically nationalise the key things that people depend upon every single day of their lives, and they need to be affordable for people.
A yield to the Stats Man. Go ahead, Stats.
The problem we've got is the environment, the green agenda affects everything. So no matter what we say, we can't tell exactly what they're going to do with it. And I know it's failed, and it's failed for reasons that are more complicated than just
so you admit that. You admit that.
It. I've said it's failed, and I've told you why it's failed. I just think the answer to failure isn't socialism, which always fails.
No, it's not so. But the problem is they've actually privatized the profits, and they're now going to socialize the debts. And that is the problem. And they've got to be made to pay for that. You know, it cannot be the public that keeps on bailing these people out.
I agree, but you can have a mix of some socialist elements of public services and also a private market. Who's to say there can't be middle ground?
I'm afraid that's how it's working now, and it's really not working, is it?
No,
that's the problem.
I understand.
I think this company is a limited liability, so I think it's that the debt's down to the shareholders. Don't quote me on that. I might need to check into that.
Well, just let me give you the actual shareholders. They're owned by a consortium of pension funds and sovereign wealth funds.
Exactly.
The largest shareholder is Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System, OMERS, a vast Canadian pension fund which holds a stake of nearly 32% in Thames Water. Others include China Investment Corporation, so that's their sovereign fund, the Universities Superannuation Scheme, the UK's biggest private pension fund, and Infinity Investments, a subsidiary of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. Now, they've got about 7,000 employees. That's going to cause a problem if they go under.
It is.
And they can't let it go under because there's 15,000, customers. So it is a massive problem, and I can understand the headache. And I understand the logic where you're coming from, Stats. But I do...
Yeah, because it's bad management. And these people are meant to be investing and they're not.
I do
and everyone's forgetting that Ofwat. They're meant to be regulating all this.
They're meant to be regulated. No,
and as I just quoted, the framework has been in place to ensure consumers receive high standards of service at a fair price. Well, they're not high standards, are they? If you look at what's happened over 30 years, it's improved, and then now it's starting to stall again.
I was told not to actually refer to them because my original expression of them, I said Ofwat were about as useful as a razor blade to a haemophiliac.
Right.
And then I was told that was a little bit too rough, to be honest with you. So, certain politicals said to me, and they said, why don't you refer to them as as useful as a chocolate fire guard? And I just thought, no, I think the razor blade to a haemophiliac is actually
that's funny.
A lot
you should
better.
Tell them to stop censoring themselves.
Oh yeah.
Pathetic behaviour.
So what's going to be the answer then? Well, let's have a quick roundup. All right, Cutter, what do you think is going to be the answer?
I think that the boards of these companies, the chief executive officers and all the rest of them that actually run the company, not the investors, not these big massive pension companies, the people that they put in charge of these companies should be jailed, because they must see this sort of thing coming a mile away think to themselves, look at that one that resigned this week before this also.
And they're getting their shares sold.
Now, she will be walking into another job in a summer position in a couple of weeks' time and do exactly what it's saying there. So these people should be held to account. They shouldn't be up in front of parliamentary committees or anything like that. They should be in front of a Crown Court and getting sent down for a long, long, long time to teach these people to stop messing with people's lives.
Okay, well, that's a harsh one there from the cutter. All right. Trevor, what do you think?
Bring it all back into British ownership. End of.
Okay. Statsman?
I agree with what Trevor said, and all the investors need to cough up now, stop stripping the assets and ruining our infrastructure for their own benefit.
And the last word from the man that's been pecking away in the background there. Go ahead, Raven. What do you want to say about it?
Yeah, well, in all seriousness, it is a case now for privatisation of utilities and water. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be failure if it's publicly owned. It doesn't have to be. Things are different now to the way they were 30, 40 years ago. I think there is a case for nationalisation, certainly starting with water. I think people getting horrendous water bills in this day and age simply for something that's the very fundamental necessity to live is appalling. And for the level of bills that people are getting to fund this level of debt and failure for other people to profiteer and make themselves rich is disgusting.
Okay, well then, in that case then, we're going to move on. And we are going to move on to the local now. And this is with the Gazelle. And it's another version of Warrenation Street. And this is about the huge 472,000 audit fees for the council, which is like peanuts in comparison to what went on with Humza in Scotland. Okay, but it's big news down here in Warrington. Go ahead, the Gazelle.
Peanuts it might be. So, how long have we been going on about this?
Forever.
Well, I'll tell you exactly how long we've been going on, since 2017-18, since we started our podcast.
Yep.
And we've said all along, how much is this going to cost me, council taxpayer? Well, this week we got the answer. £472,000, excluding VAT. We all keep missing that. It's excluding VAT.
And remember now, this is for 2017 to 18.
18. This is the 1 year audits by, who are they? Grant Thornton.
Yep.
Right? Grant Thornton, whatever they call.
Well, she can times that by about 4 or 5.
That's right.
Well, you've got 4, 5, or 6 coming after that, which is I'm going to bring up a little bit later.
Wow.
How are they going to pass that off? How are they going to pass that off? And it just turn around, every year. Okay, and another 500,000 goes on the debt pile there.
Well, that's can I just ask a question here, guys? Is this just simply to ascertain the sheer astronomical level of debt that Warrington is in?
Or stupidity of the people who are managing it. One or the other.
What it is, Steve, you've got this accounting firm that came in, Grant Thornton, which is a massive company. They've come in to
stop it! Stop it now! If you do any more of that stuff, you do any more of that, I'm not editing it out. I've had enough of your gaps and your and your.
I'm trying to explain it to Steve that what they've done, they've come in to do the accounts, and they're in such a mess that it's taken them so long after loads of disagreements to do them. Now, in my opinion, it's just a disgrace, isn't it? I mean, you're talking over £500,000 here of council tax. I'm talking about Warrington council taxpayers now. Now, I call on you, Russ Bowden, to resign immediately.
If not sooner. If not sooner. I'm on about now, tonight. If not Sunak.
It's 9:15 and I want him gone by 10:10, okay? Now, as Mark said earlier on, we've got 18, 19, 19, 20, etc., to sign off yet. I mean, again, Rusty Nail, go by 10:09, please.
Ain't gonna happen. Isn't gonna.
Just go.
He's not gonna listen to you. Okay.
Well, I'm going to announce tonight.
Are you going to announce a coup?
No, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going to announce a coup, and then when the coup is over, we're going to have a tin of soup. Right. I'm going to announce that tonight I'm going to start a petition to get rid of Russ Bowden. I don't know how it's going to go. I'll just have to see how it goes. I'm going to start going into town centre, set up a petition as a vote of confidence with the council leader in Warrington.
No
and I'll just
confidence.
see how it goes from there.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's a laudable undertaking, sir.
And I will be going out with my big stick, and I will be beating people to sign this petition to get rid of this moron.
Are you going to do an online one, Trevor? Because I'll sign it even though I don't live there.
Well, it doesn't matter. He doesn't know where he lives
It'd be
anyway.
great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be great? You know, you do this online. Do this online petition to get rid of Russ Bowden, right? And 3 million Scots.
I can arrange that for you, mate.
It will be going online, Graham. Yeah.
That's it. So give me the link and I'll get a few
I
signatures.
will do. I'm definitely sorting this out. Over the next few days, I will be sorting out a petition to get rid of this council leader.
They'll all be questioning and say, how did he manage to get 3 million Scots to sign that?
The nickname Rusty Nails will be enough for them. They'll sign that then after reading that.
That's what we're going to do.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
so all I can say is please help us. Just sign the petition.
go ahead,
Do you need-
Stats.
Do you need some manpower for the crew of Warrenation Street?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll be setting up street stalls
Roadblocks.
in town centre, definitely, to do it.
Not roadblocks. And
We don't need roadblocks. We've counteracted one in Wester.
Get the
in
women
LA.
from Latchford. Get the women from Latchford. They'll cause mayhem for those people.
Oh, they will do, because all the women, they drive they'll bring...
stuff.
Yeah, all the ladies are going to... I call them ladies from LA. All the women from Latchford will bring you down their fork trucks and they'll be blocking off town centre.
Indeed. Can you yield to the cutter who had a comment to make there? Go on, Cut.
Certainly, I do apologise.
So see when you're going round the town centre and so forth, get yourself some gay pride armbands and all the rest of it and just get that vote as well, mate.
And they'll say, do you support LGBTQ, IQ, Alphabet Mafia? And we'll just say, no, we just think it's colourful. And we like to wear the bands. Why should they get all the nice, colourful things?
We're Jamaican.
Yeah.
They might get a little steel band going as well. Ban Rusty.
Just when you're talking about auditing books, the SNP are back in trouble with their new auditors again because they've not been keeping hard copies of their accounts. believe it or not.
Oh, so they're definitely following the European standard.
yeah.
Yep. They were asked for hard copies by their new auditors and they said, no, we don't have hard copies.
Well, how can they
Even
verify
your
things?
most basic club bookkeeper knows you always keep hard copies of everything.
Graham, if I don't keep a hard copy for my business,
You get
I'm
done.
fined. I'm taken in.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, without a shadow
What's
of a doubt.
different? I'm self-employed. They're self-employed. They
What
should
was
keep
what was
hard copies.
Hums's answer to that one was, sorry, we didn't realise.
Oh, yeah, right.
You didn't realise?
Absolute right. Okay, well, that's one of those local stories. Here's another one, which is a little bit more serious. What about this? The international search begins to find a Warrington rape suspect. What about that?
Is this Asian guy with a tattoo above
That's
his
the
right
one.
eye?
Yes, that's him, Graham.
What an evil-looking character he is.
Indeed.
Yeah.
His
Well,
name
what's he gonna
is...
do?
Wait
Sorry,
a minute.
go on.
Wait a minute. His name is, unsurprisingly,
Like this bit.
Jafar Muhammad.
Oh, no, Mohammed.
Another
There's a theme
Muhammad.
here.
Okay.
There's a theme.
Jafar, was that not the baddie in Aladdin?
That's the one. That's the guy. Okay. You know, it would have been good if you'd seen the picture of him, like sort of holding a lamp. You know, like
Well,
this.
there's one thing anyway that's, it's not nice to say, but hopefully the girls won't get pregnant because he's known as a Jaffa, which has got no pips.
Ooh, what? Okay. Well, he's wanted by Cheshire Police in connection with a breach of Crown Court bail. And this guy is 33 years old of Manchester Road, and he was charged in February with 2 counts of rape and 5 counts of sexual assault. And the hearing was at Liverpool Crown Court last Friday, and it determined him to still be on the run, and an extensive search is ongoing, with lines of inquiries taking place in Germany, where it is believed he has relatives. Now, so, you know, this is great, isn't it?
As Jonathan says, our landlord there, the police are hunting the rape suspect, and it now spreads international as he has, apparently he's got family in Germany, as you said.
He was residing as an asylum seeker accommodation at Paddington House.
That's where I was
Yes,
getting.
and I just put they've given his address as Manchester Road, and I'll give you his actual address. It's Paddington House, and he is one of the hundreds and hundreds of migrants presently housed in our Warrington hotels. He is suspected of 2 counts of rape and 5 counts of sexual assault.
Yeah, there you go.
He is just, for me, he's just one that's been caught. So how many more are out there? Now, this hotel, as Mark says, Paddington Hotel here, is situated, it's right across the road from a children's nursery.
Oh, geez, don't.
Right? I'm telling you, it's 100 yards, Jonathan, right? Now, how many more times do we have to put up with this government putting us and our children at risk from these migrants?
Indeed.
We've got no history of where they come from.
No records. Nothing.
No records of anything. Now, the first rule of government...
One second. Would you yield to Stephen momentarily after you finish?
Go ahead,
after
Steve.
you finished.
Yeah.
No. Finish what you were going to say.
I want to finish. Yeah. I mean, the first.
Please
rule of
take
government,
half an hour.
The first rule of government is to protect the people of our land.
Correct.
That even failing at that, call an election now. Let's get this sorted and make Russ Bowden resign.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I find this appalling, to be honest with you, the amount of times that we're now covering subjects like this, where people who are being housed in this country, they're coming here, they're illegal. We've established this many times, or they're asylum seekers, or they're economic migrants. There's no checks. There's no proper establishment as to whether they are going to contribute positively to this country. There's no checks to see if they are rapists, paedophiles, murderers, terrorists, or hell knows what. And I'm sorry if people are upset by hearing the blatant truth, the hard fact truth on the matter, which is this. It is time that the government of this country, whoever they are, start to put the British people first and their safety and their security and their future first. This country, it's open door, free-for-all policy where we're housing people who turn up on boats left, right and centre. God knows how many people are pouring into this country. The statistics, I don't believe any of them. I believe it's way, way higher than what it is. I don't believe we're being told the truth on the scale of the people being put up in hotels. There's no checks, and anybody whatsoever who questions this is labelled or questioned or has their character brought into question in this country. It's time the people of this country got up, stood up, and actually took the government to task.
Just like the Irish, okay? Will you yield to Stats, the gentleman?
Thank you. It's funny you should say Irish. I was just about to mention that. So our concerns were legitimate then when we expressed our concerns over this, when we spoke about what was going on in Ireland, and then we mentioned that they were starting to come over into the hotels in this country, and we warned what would happen. And look what's happened. And then if you want to find out what's going to happen in the future, well, then just look at France.
Indeed.
So here we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's
not going to end at this, is it?
It's not going to end well. And also, I think everybody's beginning to realize it now. They're beginning to understand the implications of what Mr. Sunak is doing. Promises, but no delivery. Go ahead, Trevor.
Right. I have a chatty ratty update this week.
He's his man on the inside, chatty ratty.
This is the man on the inside, the chatty ratty. Whilst we're on about migrants, now we're up at the Lord Daresbury, and I've been talking to particular taxi drivers. Now, these costs that we get are $6 million a day of maintaining the hotel costs. I think these are just purely hotel costs. £6 million a day. Now, on top of this, I've been told by the ratty today that these migrants are running around continually. Last Sunday, he had to pick one up because he had a toothache. He was taken directly to a private dentist to get that dealt with.
Oh, that's expensive.
That's expensive, yeah. And
expensive for us.
One of them, they ordered 3 taxis for 4 of them because they wouldn't travel together. 2 was in one taxi, 1 was in another taxi, and 1 was in another taxi. All going to Warrington Hospital at the cost of £22 a trip there and £22 a trip back. Also, they've been run to private clinics which are up near Stretton, near the Spire Hospital, just across the road from there. They're also run there to see a doctor immediately if they need a doctor at a private clinic.
This is just unbelievable. I mean, why are they allowing this to happen? I mean,
how much is that cost?
It's costing hotel cost? Massive amounts of money. No, get rid of them. Get them out. Deport them. If they've got no papers, they have the legal powers to actually say, no, bye-bye. Get rid of them.
Well, the reason it's happening, Jonathan, is because this country is riddled to the hilt with traitors in our system.
Indeed.
And that's the only way to define it.
Okay, go ahead, Cutter.
I was just thinking there, like the Rwanda thing, which never came about. What's happened to the barges we were going to put them on? You saw these pictures of these big, massive barges getting towed across.
They've already spent $1.5 billion with an Australian company for these.
Where are the barges, and how many of these people have been put on the barges?
Oh, don't. You know, this government is such a reactionary government that wastes so much public money. It's not funny. And the truth is that they're not telling the truth about it to the people.
If we actually got these from South America, would they be called argy barges?
But they got them from Australia. That's who's making them. All right, Cobber.
I don't know.
All right, well, okay. Well, no, I'm telling you now, this is it. You know, I'm calling it. Okay, Steve, get to the bar. We've got Scotland in tonight, and they do like a drink or four.
Lucky there. What would you like?
Come on. Back it up. We need some digital currency here, kiddo. We need to see it on screen.
Well, it's straightforward. I've got a rather large supply of Guinness here to me tent in Bournemouth.
We're not coming all the way out to you. All right, that's it. Forget it.
Well, you've had your chance then. That's
Muted.
It.
That's it. Okay, he's out. Right, okay, shout-outs and shout-downs. I'm going to go first. And everybody can actually notice, look at this lovely, lovely haircut.
Wait, took a few cans of hairspray.
I'm telling you now. Right. And I'd like to give a shout-out to my favorite hairdresser, which is Lou, and her name is Louise, but we call her Lou, at Clipper 66. There you go. And she's a dolphin. No. Okay, she does a great job. She does an absolutely great job.
She specializes in doing.
That's it. Muted again. Right out of the way. Okay, so there you go. Hey, Steve, don't try it on, especially for those who do have hair. All right. Thank you very much. No offense, Cutter. No offense. I don't want.
Don't know what you're talking about, mate.
So that's to Lou at Clipper. Great. Does a great job. Great job. Anyway,
go down there and pay her to sabotage your hair.
Do you know who you remind me of, Steve?
What?
You remind me of Jeff Dunham, and you are right the ultimate. Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist, where he's got Ahmed, the dead terrorist, and he's got Walter in the case, and Ahmed is so frightened of Walter. You're Walter. You're Walter. You're him. There's no two ways about it, you know. And I'm definitely, I kill you.
He'd be googling that in his tent tonight.
I know. He'd be sitting there saying, "Who's Ahmed, the dead terrorist?" And if anybody goes to see it, I mean, the guy is so funny, and I can't believe that he actually took this act out, and he went to Muslim countries, and they were absolutely in fits of laughter. Where he's looking around and he's going, "Are these my 72 virgins?" And he looks up on the front row of all these people, and he said, "They're ugly."
Yeah, I've got some interesting destination ideas for you, really.
Have you? Okay, mute. Okay, Trevor, go ahead. What's your shout out or shout down?
Well, I've no shout downs really because we're going to be here all night. Basically, it's far too long. I can't prioritize them. I've got so many shout downs.
I got it.
The country is a mess.
Yep, absolutely.
The mess.
Absolutely. Mark, go ahead. Shout out, shout down.
I'll shout out to all the French patriots, not that they're listening, but because they've had their internet cut off, who are protecting their property and their families. I mean, it must be pretty bad having to do that.
Yeah,
I think maybe we need a coup in France.
In France. Well, there are murmurs of such a thing coming from the army.
Something needs to happen because
Macron is just messing it all up, isn't he?
I mean, I know we have weak leaders, but wow.
He is an absolute...
He's a drip. You're taking me out and John.
Yep, he's more interested in that. Yeah. Okay, all right, Cutto, have you got a shout-out or a shout-down?
Could I do one each, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to give a shout-out. As you all know, I was down at the Coronation in London and I had an absolutely fabulous weekend. So I'm going to give a shout-out to King Charles, who is receiving the honours of Scotland tomorrow. Okay. That's in Gerald Cathedral. It's on the television. I hope you're all going to watch it. And I'm going to give a shout-down to Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater for not attending. Getting an invite and not attending, but going to Republican gatherings at the same time. Scum of the world, as far as I'm concerned. So there you go.
Okay. And Steve, go on. Shout out or shout down. We're listening. Go on.
Well, I've got two. I've got, first of all, a shout out to the fabulous people of Wales, for it's a lovely place. And secondly, I've got a shout down to Dave, the violent dive-bombing seagull occupying the front of Barmouth along with his mates.
Well, at least he lives up to the payments that we gave him.
Dave's getting a bonus, I think.
Yeah, he's going to get a bonus.
Arrogant so-and-so he is, I tell you. Flipping neck, tells you.
Well, okay.
Steals your food and sits there gawking about it, laughing about it. Honestly, God.
Well, he told us all about it. We had the word behind the scenes. Here we go. Okay, well, then that's it. Okay, well, Trevor, say good night.
Good night, everybody, and thank you so much for listening, as always.
Oh, yeah, they'll enjoy this. Go ahead, Statsman, say good night.
Goodbye to all our lovely listeners out there, and of course, all you lovely people.
And to our...
And the Raven.
And the... Well, no. He's not lovely people.
And Dave the Seagull.
Yeah, well, okay. All right, reserve judgment. Yep. And to the cutter, Mr. Graham Cuttle. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for having me on once more. And I hope to see you all very, very soon.
Yes, we're very happy to have you on board. And obviously, we got to go to the Raven. Hashtag, justice for Steve. Okay, justice for the Raven. Go on, Raven. Go ahead. Say goodnight.
Cwmni am bob amser diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and happy week ahead.
Oh, yes. Oh, there you go. Oh, God, that was quick.
Another bleeding migrant.
Oh, God. Well, this edit is going to be a very, very fun thing to do. Yeah. Okay. Steve?
What?
Goodbye.
Yes.
Watch out for them seagulls, Raven.
Yes, well, I've got to head off down to the shower block now. It's a hell of a trek, and then a trek back.
Yeah, with your girlfriends. Shirley.
Barbara. Never thought you'd ever go into a naturist.
Oh, you are so funny.